if I understand the frameworks with which different civilizations are operating, they have many strengths and weaknesses in those frameworks, but my concern is how they are treating us unfairly in many cases. And then when I when I give the response from our framework, our drishti, it is considered controversial. So that kind of controversy I have no problem with, because it's not negatively intended. It's intended to establish the truth. The truth will set you free, they say, but first it might upset a lot of people. What unifies all the different kinds of things I've been working on is that I'm looking for patterns of causation. I'm looking for patterns of causation. Like as a physicist, I was trained to look for how causation works with electrons and with gravitational objects and all of the cause and effect, which can be theorized. You can make models, you can prove it through empirical evidence, you can falsify if it's not correct. All of that is called the scientific method, and therefore it's the discovery of causation. We also have our theory of causation, which is karma. That's a different kind of causation. It includes physics, but it goes beyond it. Our causation theory is not only material things causing other material effects, but non-material causes producing effects. And some of those effects may not be in this janma, they may be in another janma. The goal is to produce a higher outcome for a higher purpose, and that is called yajna. That is called yajna, as effort at one level by an individual and many others joining, and collectively aspiring to produce a higher level outcome. That is the yajna. So life as a yajna, both at all stages of the ashram system, from student to householder to going beyond family, all of that, all the stages is yajna, and that's part of your evolution.
Now, we had an issue with the editor. We went to a big publisher, and they said the editor basically started looking at the first few pages, the introduction. We were in a hurry, so the legal team and editor was reviewing our work, and within the first chapter they said, "Oh, you're naming Mahindra, or you should just say some department in Harvard." So right there we knew that we've got other chapters coming down the line which were totally dedicated to the Lakshmi Mittal Center or the Mahindra Center, things like that. And here was the legal team getting nervous with just one mention of a name. But of course, not to worry, because Rajivji has already thought of plan B, and an entire plan B totally laid out expecting this to happen. I think just like the West has Marxism and other social scientists who have theories, we have a Rajiv Malhotra school of thought, which I think we should bring to our universities, because it's a great body of knowledge that he has single-handedly developed.
Okay, Andarki Namaskaram. Good evening to all. I am Chandrasekhar, Joint Secretary, Pragna Bharati, Telangana. This evening, we have all gathered here to celebrate this Pragna Puraskar ceremony. For the last 2 days, Rajiv Malhotra ji and Professor Vijaya Viswanathan ji, they have been here with us, and they have been having back-to-back programs without much gap, and I'm sure they're also tired, but it was all successful. We had really wonderful programs with different groups, and we had one session at the Hyderabad Central University, one at the IPE, that is Institution of Public Enterprise, and also one at, of course, now we are having it at CES and CCRT, another program we had. Now this is basically, if you don't have any awareness of our award Pragna Puraskar, this is the one Pragna Bharati confers every year to an eminent personality. We identify the people who have done an excellent work in their fields, in the keeping in mind of the nation and society. And this time it is a coincidence that Rajiv ji is around. So Pragna Bharati, with the advice of Governing Council and the members and the other elders, has decided to confer it to Rajiv ji. So this is the basic cause of this gathering. And to start this evening's program, I request our president of organization Pragna Bharati, Sirish Dopeshwarkar ji, to come and give his welcome address. Sirish ji.
Namaskar, good evening to all of you. Respected eminent speakers on the dais, Sri Rajiv Malhotra ji, Professor Vijaya Viswanathan, Dr. T. Hanuman Chaudhary ji, our founder chairman, and Sri Raghunandan ji, our Pragna Pravaha coordinator from the central office. We also have Sri Arvind Rao ji, ex-DGP, Sri L.V. Subramaniam ji, ex-chief secretary, and Sri Uma Maheshwar Rao ji, who is the ex-DGP. And I am Shirish Dopeshwarkar, President, welcoming you all for this program and welcoming all the guests here for this evening. This function is to facilitate Sri Rajiv Malhotra ji with our annual Pragna Puraskar. I have pleasure in welcoming you once again and introducing the activities and work of Pragna Bharati. Pragna Bharati is a forum of nationalist thinkers working for nationalist thinkers and providing them the forum to put across their views and ideas. We are part of Pragna Pravaha, which is a national movement, and we follow the simple policy of nation first in whatever we do. We do the awareness of the national issues through different public meetings, public debates, conferences, etc. And while we identify and create awareness, we always lay focus on the finding solution based on our national ethos and our national thinking. We also award eminent personalities who have contributed to our national cause and national projects with our Pragna Puraskar. We feel that by honoring them, we redeem ourselves. We had another small award, small in the sense it is for it is a memorial award in memory of our very efficient, very active Karyakarta, who is no more, Neeraj Thakur Memorial Award 2023. We as you know, we Team Pragna Bharati is a group of Karyakartas who do social work on our own part as part of national duty. Neeraj Thakur was one such Karyakarta, and he was always smiling, always ready to do, put in his work, putting it above everything else. And to perpetuate his memory, we have instituted this award. We have the awardee for this memorial award this year is Mr. G.V. Sethuraman, and he is also here. I welcome him. I welcome you all once again. We are honored by your presence here in this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Surajji. Now I request our chairman of Pragna Bharati Telangana, Tripuraneni Hanuman Chaudhary Garu, to express few words about Rajiv Malhotra ji.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram.
I would like to narrate an incident. We have started with the invocation Vande Mataram. In 1923, the All India Congress Committee held a session in Kakinada. It was presided over by Maulana Muhammad Ali. When Digambarra Puraskar started the session with Vande Mataram, he said, "Don't sing this. You should not sing this." He persisted in singing this, rendering the Vande Mataram, and Maulana Muhammad Ali walked away beyond hearing distance. Beyond hearing distance. That was the respect that he had as a Congress president and earlier as a leader of the Khilafat movement. Friends, today we have got a warrior, an intellectual warrior, that is Rajiv Malhotra ji, and assisting him is Vijaya ji. We are very, very happy that we have read his books, we have got his message, but we wanted to hear him in person and also sensitize the intelligentsia of Hyderabad into nationalistic thinking. During the British rule, we had Macaulayization of the Indian intellectuals. Today, what we are having is Abrahamization of Indian intellectuals. Abrahamization is essentially hatred for the non-believers. We are called non-believers. So Rajiv ji, for the last 2-3 decades, has been spending all his energy and also other resources in defending Bharat in the Western audiences, especially in American audiences, who are innocently fed by Indian money to write against India's heritage and Bharatiyata. We are very, very happy, sir, that you have spent 3 days over here and have tried and have in fact infused some nationalism and definite thinking into our people. We are pleased to give you the Pragna Puraskar, which you have been giving to eminent persons. May I now give the request citation to be read out?
I just want to make a small amendment with apology to Srimati Madhvi ji. He is chairman Virinchi Hospital. I forgot to mention her while welcoming. So double welcome to you.
Now I request Shri Arvind Rao Garu, ex-DGP of Combined Andhra Pradesh, to give us a summary of Rajiv ji's visit to Hyderabad. That is the 3-day summary of these 3 days, because he has been with us and he has been following and contributing so much in these events. Please, sir.
Respected dignitaries on the dais and distinguished audience. I have been asked to give a summary, but I am not sure how appropriate it will be to now give a summary of the 2 days proceedings, because we learned so many things in the 2 days. There were more than 5-6 sessions, 4 major sessions and some minor sessions also with some small groups. So in that interaction, it was such an illuminating discussion with every group. So we learned so many things about what is happening, not only about India, but generally the world situation. First of all, I will just say a couple of words about Rajiv ji, and then I will leave the stage to him, because you will be more interested in listening to him. Because whatever I am going to say by way of summary, he will be elaborating. In fact, it is better to listen to him. So I will just say a couple of words. Rajiv ji is a citizen of America. Vijaya ji, I am not very sure she is a citizen of America or India. But then Rajiv ji, he has been in America for the last 50 years. And then he started as a IT professional. He owned some companies and then he made big money. Not only made big money, he also made big donations to various universities like Harvard. And then in the Harvard, Princeton particularly. So in that process, he had a very profitable interaction with various professors there. And in that process, he came to know how the Indian civilization is not getting proper recognition, deserved recognition. or rather the recognition it deserves. Whereas our counterpart, Chinese civilization, is getting all the recognition. So then he started wondering, and then he started interacting with them, and then he slowly learned that not only not giving any recognition, but there were deliberate attempts to denigrate the Indian civilization, deliberate attempts to dismember the country, deliberate attempts to break the country into pieces. So such things he observed, and then from then on, he just gave up his business. He devoted the entire time. He dedicated himself for the study of what we call Indology. Indology is, we all know that, like Sinology is the study of China, Indology is the study of India, by not only by Indians but also by all the Westerners. In fact, when the Westerners ruled the world till up to the 20th century, mid 20th century, so they were writing the narrative. They were writing the narrative of all the lands which they controlled, and then they were dictating terms. So then that was the situation. So he studied all that, and then how India was being discriminated, and how Indian culture was being, attacked. So with that, he started focusing on Indological studies, and he produced several volumes on the history of Indian sciences and technology. Several volumes were produced by his organization. He started an organization called Infinity Foundation. And thereafter, he himself studied on various fronts. What were the type of attacks which were going on a cultural front, political front, say now, of course, in the field of artificial intelligence, and also the latest thing is about the woke culture, and then the critical race theory ideas, some strange ideas which are being imposed on the Indian society in order to break the Indian society. So all these things he studied, and then to my knowledge, he has written at least 15 books, say running to about 15,000 pages, roughly 15,000 pages, 12 to 13 to 15,000 pages. So they make a marvelous reading for all of us. Unfortunately, not many of us know that, and I always felt, in fact, I told him that he is doing the job of several intelligence organizations. In fact, the central intelligence organizations and the foreign officers from India. These foreign officers, they are supposed to study. They are supposed to see what is happening in those countries about India. So, but unfortunately, even not only they are not doing, but most of them are not even aware. In fact, I am surprised that most of our own officers, whether it is All India Service officers or judiciary or intellectuals, most of the people are not aware. Whenever I ring up and then I tell about Rajiv Malhotra who. So unfortunate that he has not got the recognition which he deserves in India. And his books, they have to be necessarily translated. Probably the voluminous books, probably we have to summarize, and then most of you who are interested in this nationalist thinking. Of course, I should also say that he is a nationalist, not only from the point of view of India, not only from India's point of view, but he is a citizen of America. He is very much concerned about the security of America. In fact, in the first chapter, he is about dismantling the United States, dismantling of United States. So how these new theories are coming, and then they are actually contributing to the destruction of America. So that is the theme. He is not only concerned about India, he is concerned about the preservation of American society, America as a whole. In fact, what we see, if we see what is all these peculiar happenings that are that are there in America, I honestly feel that America is also on the path of doom. And if we allow all those things, we will also be on the path of doom. We have to check. And our strength is basically civilizational strength. America doesn't have the civilizational strength which we have. And if all of us, if we try to preserve our civilization, I am very certain, I am very sure that no woke ideas, no critical race theory can shake us. So that is my conviction. With these few words, I am extremely grateful to Rajiv ji and Vijaya ji, because when I read his book, Snakes in the Ganga, in fact, I wrote a mail to him. And then at that time, the idea came up that a meeting can be organized, because he has toured all over the country. He has toured all the major cities in the country, and it is unfortunate that we had not noticed him, we had not recognized him, we had not invited him. So I got an idea, and I broached the subject with Pragna Bharati. and my friend Mr. L.V. Subramaniam and Sri Uma Maheshwar Rao, they were actively behind this, and then in motivating all the people and Pragna Bharati, I found that they are all like Hanumans, all the people of Pragna Bharati. So they all ensured that this program has materializes. And then I am also grateful to Rajiv ji and also Vijaya ji for the illuminating talks which they have given in the last 2 days. You are now going to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arvindra Garu. Now it's time for conferring the award, Pragna Puraskar. Just before that, I would like to request Sri Atre Sharma Garu. He is the one who himself volunteered to do the citation. He himself wrote this and is here to read it in front of us. Atre Sharma Garu, please come on to the desk and do the citation reading.
Sabhayai Namaha. Pragna Bharati, Telangana, Hyderabad confers Pragna Puraskar 2023 on Sri Rajiv Malhotra. The Indic or Hindu or Bharatiya is the most ancient culture in the world, rooted in holism, eclecticism, democratic spirit, inclusivity, scientific objectivity, coupled with due importance to body, mind, heart, soul, spiritual quest, cosmic unity, and transcending historical limitations. Its aim is universalism, peace and happiness of one and all, including the animate and the inanimate across the world. The essence of Indic culture and values has spread to lots of geographical areas beyond India, and it springs from India, its only effective homeland. Though the recent global village concept is welcome, insidious forces with exclusivist ideologies armed with mammonism and terrorism are coming in the way and are also posing a conspiratorial threat to Hinduism, which, if weakened, would strike at the very ideal of universalism, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, the entire world is one family, wherein each geographical culture has many positive points to contribute for a broader synthesis with a philharmonic blend. So, it is always imperative for each and every Indian, especially the well-meaning and educated people, to come into the scene from time to time with a view to protecting and promoting dharma, the quintessence of perennial Indic wisdom and time-tested values of life. Fortunately, India has been and is blessed with such personages in every age, and one such in our current milieu is Sri Rajiv Malhotra, who, by dedicating himself to this noble mission, has been rendering yeoman's service, a source of inspiration to many. A successful physicist and computer scientist specializing in artificial intelligence in the 1970s, Sri Rajiv Malhotra won many a laurel in his corporate career in the United States of America before turning an entrepreneur and founding and running several IT companies in 20 countries. The call of dharma made him quit all the commercially profitable activities when he was in his early 40s. Towards this end, he founded a non-profit organization, Infinity Foundation, based in Princeton, USA. Ever since, Sri Rajiv Malhotra has been serving full-time on his dharmic mission by doing a lot of research from the historical, social, psychological, and spiritual perspectives. Besides authoring a number of illuminating books on dharma from various angles, Sri Rajiv Malhotra has, through his Infinity Foundation, published a 14-volume path-breaking series on the history of Indian science and technology, HIST. While his Infinity Foundation has given more than 400 grants for research, education, and community work, its affiliate, Infinity Foundation India, has regularly been conducting Swadeshi Indology conferences to spread its ideas through scholarly publications, video series, and e-learning courses. It has also been translating many of his books into Indian languages, making use of even videos so that the unique Indic concept of the multifarious dharma is properly appreciated and disseminated among millions of Indians so that they can understand its significance and relevance in a new light. Sri Rajiv Malhotra's sapience, vision, and mission has taken him aboard as chairman of the Board of Governors of the Center for Indic Studies at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and as a member of the advisory board of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. In the light of all these stellar achievements and their positive impact on the society at large, Pragna Bharati Telangana, a forum of Indic thinkers, originally Pragna Bharati Andhra Pradesh, established in 1992, which has been presenting Pragna Puraskar every year to eminent personalities and with distinguished accomplishments and significant contribution to the Indian society and culture, has the honor of hereby conferring the Pragna Bharati Puraskar 2023 on Sri Rajiv Malhotra, with the best wishes of its entire team to him at Hyderabad on Wednesday, 15th March 2023. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. Dharma protects its protectors. So I am reading this on behalf of Dr. Tripuranen Hanuman Chaudhary Garu, our chairman, and Sirish Dhopeshwar ji, president. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atre Sharma Garu, for the wonderful citation. Now, I request Rajiv Malhotra ji to come to the front, and there's a chair for you. Now, Veda, can you please bring the shawl? Sirish ji will facilitate Rajiv ji to the shawl. And where is the citation cartridge? And we also have a small envelope for Rajiv ji. Thank you so much to everyone, all the chief guests. Now I request Sri Rajiv Malhotra ji to address the audience on Breaking India 2.
Namaste. It's such a honor to be standing here, and so much gratitude for the recognition of the work, not just by me, but a whole organization that we've been trying to build. I wish many of my colleagues and peers and the research scholars we are mentoring were here also, but they'll see this video, and I want to convey to them the message that all this is shared by the entire team. Not only people within the official boundaries of our institution, but those outside who are aligned with us, who are helping us, who are part of the yajna. This is a yajna that is going on to revive our dharma, our Sanatana dharma. The dharma cannot be destroyed, obviously, like you cannot destroy gravitation, because it's part of the nature of reality. However, human beings, whether they are carrying out the dharma or whether they are into adharma, that is the issue. It is not that dharma itself gets destroyed, but human beings stop following it. It's society that gets destroyed. So the yajna is to help re-establish Sanatana Dharma for this day and age. Now, I want to talk about a few principles, a few concepts. One of them is, I'm always told that my work is controversial. So I want to address that head on. Yes, it is controversial because I'm very comfortable in discovering who I am. And as I discover who I am, I'm comfortable in my skin. I'm aligned with my Sanatana Dharma. I'm able to articulate it, explain it, and that may upset certain people. So the controversy is not because I'm trying to do something against anyone else, but simply recovering our tradition is considered a threat to some people. It's just a threat. Now, this morning I talked about frameworks, the study of frameworks, the development of new frameworks, new smritis, the study of other people's frameworks, our response to them. You see, if I understand the frameworks with which different civilizations are operating, they have many strengths and weaknesses in those frameworks, but my concern is how they're treating us unfairly in many cases. And then when I when I give the response from our framework, our drishti, it is considered controversial. So that kind of controversy I have no problem with, because it's not negatively intended. It's intended to establish the truth. The truth will set you free, they say, but first it might upset a lot of people. The truth will set you free, but first it might also upset a lot of people, because they are used to a certain viewpoint, they are invested in it, their whole lifestyle is based on it, and if you come and challenge that and question that by offering a different view of the truth, that is considered controversial. Now, many breakthroughs are the result of controversy. In physics, when Einstein said that Newtonian laws are not correct, and he came up with his own theories, that was very controversial because it undermined the whole edifice of physics. When Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara, went and debated Mandana Mishra, who was far more powerful at the time, more people following him, much older, and he debated and established his own view as being the right view, it was a very big controversy. So, controversy happens in the political domain when a country rises and wants sovereignty and freedom. That is a very controversial thing. Jesus Christ was one of the most controversial persons in the Western world, so much so that the Roman rulers got him killed. He had no weapon, he was not doing any violence, he was just saying certain things. His speech was so controversial that they felt threatened and got him killed. So you see, major breakthroughs in history of all kinds, whether it is spiritual traditions or physics and scientific theory or political movements, are the result of people toppling the old way of thinking and replacing it with a new way of thinking, and that is inherently controversial. So I don't think you should be afraid of controversy. You have to make sure that your view is aligned with the truth. It is for a higher purpose. It is not selfish. It is not malintended. And if all this is the case, then you are doing the yajna, which means you are putting back, you are working hard, giving back towards a higher cause, not towards your own ego, but towards a higher cause. So that's one idea I wanted to put forth. The other thing I want to discuss is that what unifies all the different kinds of things I've been working on is that I'm looking for patterns of causation. I'm looking for patterns of causation. Like as a physicist, I was trained to look for how causation works with electrons and with gravitational objects and all of the cause and effect, which can be theorized. You can make models, you can prove it through empirical evidence, you can falsify if it's not correct. All of that is called the scientific method, and therefore it's the discovery of causation. We also have our theory of causation, which is karma. That's a different kind of causation. It includes physics, but it goes beyond it. our causation theory is not only material things causing other material effects, but non-material causes producing effects. And some of those effects may not be in this janma, they may be in another janma. And some of the causes may be in a previous life. So our causation theory called karma is bigger, a superset of what is called natural sciences. So that's also a causation theory. And then there is social sciences, which is another kind of causation. People try to come up with models of how a society moves, how a society succeeds, how it fails, what is exploitation, what are the rules of conduct. All of the norms of society and social behavior is also kind of a theory of causation, if you will. So being trained in physics meant that I discover the causation in nature. That's not man-made. Physics looks into causation, whether it is your view is that Bhagwan made it, put this causation together, whether your view is some kind of atheist view that the causation came about without any God. Whatever the view is, there is causation that nobody denies. And so physics is a discovery of that causation. Now, then I got into computer science. Computer science, you build your algorithms. You're making causation. You're telling the computer how you want to produce a causation. So a program is basically instructions to a computer to implement and carry out certain causation. So this is man-made causation. This is not the discovery of some natural causation. This is the development of constructing my causation as a programmer. So this is also about causation, except now it is human causation. Similarly, when you look at society, you have both built-in causation that are natural in a society. You have a lot of things, the way societies behave in natural ways. Nobody has made those rules. That's how human beings are. That's the result of human mind, how it works. But then there are man-made, human-made laws so the law, the constitution, social regulations, etc., those are human constructed causation. Humans saying, okay, this cause this effect. If you do this, then this will happen. We don't want you to do this. These are do's and don'ts. So, when you think of causation, you have both natural causation and man-made causation. You have causation in the mind. There is a whole discovery of mind sciences, which is the discovery of causation inside us. And then you have social sciences, which is the discovery and discovery of causation in society, and also intervention. Activism is a kind of causation that you want to bring about. So what I find enjoyable, and I rarely talk about it, but this is an opportunity I thought maybe I should reflect on it. But what I find enjoyable and which informs all my work is that I love to tinker with causation. I love to keep theorizing how things work, be they in nature, be they in society, be it our opponent's mind that I'm trying to figure out, called Purva Paksha, which means I'm trying to uncover, decipher, decode their causation, how they're operating, or be it constructing our own causation to produce some good things. That's how my mind works. And this discovery and this kind of approach to causation, I also want to explain how I have operated. It includes several things. It includes a lot of reading and study to figure out how this causation is that's out there, how Western thought works, how Marxism works, how our Dharma Shastras work, and so on. How Artha Shastra, how do they want society to be? So that's study of what others have done. It's also meditative. That is where most of my insights come. My insights come when there is a need, a desire, a quest. And this goes on for days. Sometimes the quests have gone on for decades. And in meditative silence, when your discursive mind is not processing, there is no algorithm going on in the brain to crank out something, when there is silence and there is a higher intelligence, a kind of an expansion of consciousness. And from that, upon getting out of the meditation and looking and getting back into this physical sensory world, I find huge insights, a huge flow, a flood of insights about some causation that I could not have figured out through logical means. I could not have derived it by argument. I could not have read it somewhere, but a huge flood of an insight that puts many, many things together. They all get connected. Suddenly, everything is connected in a certain way. And that is beautiful. That is what I live for. That is what I enjoy the most. Those are rare moments. They happen, sometimes they happen rapidly, one after the other. I go through that kind of a period of time, and sometimes it happens less often. It also depends on my own, whether I'm sufficiently giving enough time to silence and to my meditation daily. So in some sense, I control it, but I cannot make it happen. It just happens. I cannot cause it to happen because it is beyond causation. It is that kind of a state of consciousness in which clarity comes. And then I can sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write about this, and this is how this fits and that fits and this and that, and come up with a model and write diagrams and tables and whatnot. So that's how I work. So the first is a lot of reading to get the basic knowledge deeper and deeper. And then there is this insight, meditative, intuitive insight. And with this insight, I go back and read the same thing. I have read the Gita dozens of times, and every time I get new knowledge. I really see different things in the same Gita, same verses, they mean more to depth. So there's an iteration between a study and analysis with the mind, logically, and the insight through meditative process. These two of them feed each other. Now then comes a third area, which is external communication, dialogue, debate, argumentation. So I do that a lot. To take the theory, to take a hypothesis, to take an insight and socialize it with both those who are aligned with us and those who are opposing us. Because only when you have that kshatriyata to test your knowledge on others, especially others who are not very friendly to you, only then do you make it pakka, solid. And so this is a three-pronged approach: the study, the meditative insight and creative, awakening, and then trying it out in debates, discussions, arguments, fights, whatever, with external people. So though people may see that side of me and say, oh, always fighting and all that, the point is I'm just trying out my hypothesis, my latest insight. And I'm not really interested in, getting upset or angry or knocking down somebody and all that. I know they're all part of the Leela. They're all part of the Leela. Even your friends and enemies are all part of the Leela. But the point is that this is part of my kshatriyata and my process to keep discovering and sharing, including controversial, provocative things, including things where people are going to fight and not be happy, but I find something new truth and I have to share it. So that's how I have been. And I think it builds a certain courage and audacity to be able to sort of live like this and very openly. How I feel is how I speak. It's not like I feel something and I can't tell you because I'm afraid or, because if there's clarity, then I can share it. And then you have to decide how you want to feel towards it. So this process has been my journey. And I was always doing something like this since a child. But over the last 30 years, I decided to go full time because this is more important to me. This is the one thing which I take with me. No money you don't take, even relationships you leave behind, even all the material things. And relationships are also part of the material things. One of the biggest insights my guru gave more than 20 years ago, the guru who transformed me, through whose grace the initial big breakthrough happened for me, and who no longer in the body since the last 20 years. But one of the big transformations was this idea, this awakening, that relationships are not really there permanently. It's also tentative. So this business of working all your life for somebody else and then saying, I mean, you have responsibility, karmic responsibility, you have to fulfill, but you are not a slave. Because if you become a slave to a relationship, then it's a attachment, an addiction. You're grasping, you're dependent, and you are a prisoner of that. Relationship should not become a prison either. You have to do your duty towards family, towards society, towards Rashtra, towards humanity, towards nature, animals, all of that. And the point is, but you have to be free. You have to do it out of freedom rather than out of compulsion. And if you are not looking for any reward for yourself, you're just doing this because this is natural to you, then you are free. You are free from causation. You're free from causation, which means you study the causation of all kinds that we talked about, but at the end, you are getting closer and closer to freedom from causation, which means this thought process is happening, and it's not to produce a certain selfish outcome. The goal is to produce a higher outcome for a higher purpose, and that is called yajna. That is called yajna, is effort at one level by an individual and many others joining, and collectively aspiring to produce a higher level outcome. That is the yajna. So life as a yajna, both at all stages of the ashram system, from student to householder to going beyond family, all of that, all the stages is yajna, and that's part of your evolution. And the varna is just different types of specializations, because in society, if you look at the whole thing as a grand leela and a grand yajna, you need different experts. You need some people who are expert in one area, some are expert in another area, and there's nothing that says you cannot be an expert in multiple areas. But this varna is a way to kind of manage the specializations of society towards this big grand yajna. And the purpose of this whole yajna is the collective evolution of humanity. So that tradition is what we come from, and we are not against anybody. We are, in fact, so inclusive that sometimes we are vulnerable because others take advantage of it. So we have to also be very vigilant. We have to be very practical, because sometimes people say that Hindus are not supposed to be political and not supposed to have opponents. But the whole Mahabharata teaches you that you have to look at, you have to understand the opponents, you have to fight them. While you are while you are really still inside, you are at a certain level of consciousness higher than those people. But at the same time, from there you have to take action which is not with any results or consequences for yourself selfishly, but selfless action you have to do. And reach a point where it's not even that you are doing it, it's just these things are happening and you're facilitating them, and you're just doing whatever best you can. So that's the gyan my mother taught me. Many gurus during my life, maybe a dozen different gurus have influenced me, many gurus. I'm very grateful to all of them. And then the one guru who actually transformed me, then as a result of which I decided, you know what, I'm going to give up all for-profit activity. No more running businesses, making money, this, that. I have to understand this better, this reality, this truth better, because I'm so grateful I was given this insight. I was given this big awakening, as a result of which I now realize that I don't need proof. I don't need somebody else to tell me. And this is something I have inside that cannot be taken away. So I have to spend the rest of my life pursuing this and doing whatever seva comes natural to me, whatever is my responsibility, which is my Svadharma. So that is what I'm sharing with you, and I'm very appreciative that you've taken the time to listen, and I'm very appreciative for the recognition, and I really feel we're all in this together. That is our collective yajna. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rajiv ji, for sharing your thoughts. Now, may I request Professor Vijaya Viswanathan ji to share the overview of the book Snakes in the Ganga.
Namassarvebhyah. I think the past few days we've heard about a lot of topics. We've heard in detail about what we have to say about the snakes in the Ganga. So today I would request that I could deviate from the subject at hand and stick to the theme of today's event, which is the felicitation of Sri Rajiv Malhotra. So I just wanted to give a few tidbits from my own experience of working with Rajiv ji, because in this day and age where there is a movie made of the making of the movie, so there are lots of incidents that are very insightful and you might find interesting as well when you understand what goes behind the making of Rajiv Malhotra. So first is Rajiv Malhotra as a teacher. Even in the 3 days that you have experienced and interacted with Rajiv ji, many of you would have learned many things about the particular task that you were handed. If you were organizing the event, if you were scheduling the event in a certain way, if you made the program for the event, if you were in charge of logistics, if you were in charge of photography, you all learned something, and something very poignant about the nature of the task. So Rajiv ji is always teaching because he's always learning. And if you're with him, you will always learn. Now, an incident comes to mind. I was with Rajiv ji in Varanasi, and we were leaving for the airport, and our car did not come, and so we had to catch an auto rickshaw, and you know how Varanasi can be tight. And so we had our luggage, and we had big suitcases, and we were already late because we waited for the car that was supposed to come, which didn't show up. So we got into this auto rickshaw, and then in around 10 to 15 minutes, there was a huge traffic jam. I don't know if Rajiv ji remembers this, but it was an intersection with bullock carts and auto rickshaws and dogs and cows and cars and motorcycles, and it just came to a standstill. So everybody there in Varanasi, in typical Varanasi style, honking continuously, and just din in this whole atmosphere. And we were all looking for a cop or a light, or everybody got out to see what was going on, but not Rajiv ji. He got out, he sorted out the entire traffic mess, and everybody went about their way. The dogs were shooed, the cows were put aside, some people were tapped on the shoulders to say, okay, now you go this way, and he took charge of being traffic police for that day. So, and we made our flight. Then there is, of course, Rajiv Malhotra, the strategist. His strategy, I guess, comes from maybe, as he said, meditation, but he thinks of every possible outcome and how to take care of it. He's also tactical, because there are some things that need to be done here and now, and he doesn't waste time. So he's also in the moment. He's just not thinking long term, he's also thinking short term. He's not thinking only about the big picture, but he's also thinking about the small picture. For example, the way he's organized Infinity Foundation, most scholars usually do not worry about the distribution of their knowledge, or they don't care about things like that. But the way we've organized Infinity Foundation is also very interesting. We have 4 buckets, A, B, C, D, where bucket A is the fundamental research that Rajiv ji does in terms of his books, And then we have B, where we have Swadeshi Indology conferences. We want to train other scholars. We've had many successful Swadeshi Indology conferences, and it kind of got stopped because of COVID, and we've lost a bit of momentum, but we're planning to pick it up this year. So bucket B is where we train other scholars on these ideas. C is, we write books, and we train others, and we put it out in the social media, right? So the idea of taking a concept and bringing it to distribution and to the market is something that Rajiv ji takes on. So again, you have the big picture, and you have every tiny detail of how you get these ideas to the market. And in this, I want to again give an example to illustrate how he does what he does. So when we were writing this book, Snakes in the Ganga, there is a behind the scenes, chaos and activity and struggle, if you will. So as soon as we finished the book, that's when, Rajiv ji said that, the work actually begins now. Now, we had an issue with the editor. We went to a big publisher, and they said the editor basically started looking at the first few pages, the introduction. We were in a hurry, so the legal team and editor was reviewing our work, and within the first chapter they said, "Oh, you're naming Mahindra, or you should just say some department in Harvard." So right there we knew that we've got other chapters coming down the line which were totally dedicated to the Lakshmi Mittal Center or the Mahindra Center, things like that. And here was the legal team, getting nervous with just one mention of a name. But of course, not to worry, because Rajiv ji has already thought of plan B. And, an entire plan B totally laid out, expecting this to happen. So it's just not about writing books, but it's also expecting these hurdles, right? Which I would have never thought of. I would say, okay, it's we're telling the truth, and there's nothing wrong with it. And then I would have gone searching for another editor and begging them and pleading. So it was so smooth. And then the way we launched the book also, we had to make sure that our people learned about this narrative before we get attacked, so that we have support and we engage our audience. So there's an entire strategy and tactic for publishing a book like The Snakes in the Ganga, because right at the beginning of when we went to publish the book, I thought we perhaps may not publish it after all, after putting so much effort. Then I want to talk about Rajiv Malhotra ji's school of thought. This morning he talked about frameworks and how frameworks are important in order to study oneself and to study the other. He has come up with terms like Purva Paksha. He's questioned democracy. What is democracy? Does India need it? So provocative questions at a very fundamental level is what he questions. He questions the definition of Rashtra. And these are very important questions, because we just use these words without thinking about them. We assume the Constitution of India is right and we should all abide by it. But we never question, is the Constitution built for us? Are we so colonized that we can't even think otherwise? So he unearths these very provocative, fundamental questions, which you can't deny. And you think, yeah, of course, yeah, makes sense, right? So getting back to the Rajiv Malhotra school of thought, over the past 2 to 3 decades, he has systematically come up with a school of thought based on Purva Paksha, based on his insights on the Indic civilizational thought and how we should look at ourselves and study the other. So big questions on digestion. He has an entire book on U-turn theory. And he even questioned if, we should consider ourselves Vishwaguru. These all ring true. When people laugh when he says that, it means that some deep down at some level we all also agree with it, and it's sort of funny. That's why we laugh, because there's truth in these matters. So I think just like the West has Marxism and other social scientists who have theories, we have a Rajiv Malhotra school of thought, which I think we should bring to our universities, because it's a great body of knowledge that he has single-handedly developed. And it's unfortunate that we do not have people who recognize this and take it to the next level to teach our younger generation. Rajiv ji himself talked about Vedic social sciences, but we have already made the start, right? We have so much in these books where we have enough to give Marxism and Western theories a rejoinder, and we have also quite a large body of knowledge to call our own viewpoint of the world, our own school of thought. So I think just like Marx got Marxism, I think it's time for us to have Malhotraism. So with that, thank you.
Thanks so much, Vijayaji. Now, may I request Indira Garimella garu and Shailaja garu, can you please come on to the dais and do the felicitation to Vijayaji? Shailaja ji, Indira ji. As you are aware that Pragna Bharati publishes a monthly English magazine, Bharatiya Pragna. Though there was a bit of a lag and a gap during COVID, now it is slowly coming back to normalcy. Now, on this occasion of Rajiv Malhotra's visit, Pragna Bharati has come up with a special edition of Bharatiya Pragna. Now, I request our chairman, Hanuman Chaudhary Garu, to launch this special edition of this magazine. Now, I actually want to mention these few names who have helped us coming up with this magazine. Atre Sharma Garu, Giridharan Garu, V. Srinivas Garu, Ravi Kumar Garu, Dheeraj, Shailaja Garu, Shweta Ravi Kumar Garu. These all helped to come up with this special edition. A special thanks to you all.